What a lovely day to play some Guilty Gear Strive, that is! Gee, I wonder who all... Oh no. Oh no! So it has been almost 2 months since Slayer has graced us with his presence and closed out the 3rd season of DLC for Strive. And while I definitely appreciate his undeniable swagger and his spectacular theme song, fighting him makes me want to commit war crimes. But thankfully, with EVO just around the corner and Guilty Gear clocking in over 2,000 entrants, beating King of Fighters, Third Strike, and even Mortal fucking Kombat, I think it's fairly likely that we'll get our first glimpse of Season 4. And so today, I'd like to talk to you about 10 characters that I, Jelly D. Jiggler, highest authority of all things awesome and cool, believe should make it into
Guilty Gear Strive.
Now, a few sort of ground rules before we jump into this list. First off, I'm not putting anybody that I think is guaranteed to make it into Strive on this list, because that's boring. But also, that basically only rules out Dizzy and Jam for me. I'm like, yeah, everybody wants Dizzy, and everybody but me wants Jam. I have no doubt one, if not both of them, are gonna be in the next season. So, there's their one and only mention in this video. Take it or leave it. I also want to talk about characters that haven't yet been playable in a mainline Guilty Gear game. So, throughout this list, I've picked 5 newcomers and 5 veteran characters. And for both, I'm going to give some background on the character's backstory and history in previous games, as well as what their gameplay might look like in Strive, maybe. But I think that's enough foreplay. Let's get into the list, baby!
From my heart and from my hand, why don't people understand my intention?
Now, I'm going to be completely honest here. This spot was originally going to go to Ariel's, because it's really a crime that she was never playable in Exert. The main antagonist was never playable. I mean, come on. That's like Strive having Happy Chaos and Asuka in 80% of the story mode, and then just never putting them in the game. Like, what were you thinking, man? And while I most definitely wouldn't complain if Ariel's got in the game, in terms of, well, her current status, she's kind of become an empty husk of sorts after Ino sucked the Happy Chaos out of her. So I figured I'll give the spot to a character who, if I'm being honest, I find far more interesting both in terms of story and what their gameplay could be, and that's Cronus, leader of the Conclave, who, alongside the other members and Asuka, introduced magic to the world after the events of Y2K. Cronus is basically the main antagonist in Exerd's Sign, the first version of Exerd. If you don't count Ariel's, just considering she doesn't really become the main focus until Revelator. He tries to fuse himself with Justice in order to reawaken her, but, like, gets blown up or almost blown up, but a bad bitch in a mask saves him, and then he goes with Faust to visit the Japanese people before freeing Asuka from his magic white background dimension prison and saying, bro, you gotta talk to Soul, bro, man to man, just hash that shit out. And then he just vanishes. We do see a glimpse of him hanging out with Faust at the end of Strive, so I guess they get along just fine still. Also, can we just really quick talk about how in 3 in-game weeks, Faust went from the normal, big-ass, wacky Faust to stage 700 depression Faust? Like, what the fuck happened in those 3 weeks, man? Holy shit. Anyway, as for gameplay, I mean, they really can do anything with him. It would be cool to see someone who's got a similar magical capability as Asuka be more of a rush-down playstyle and less time-intensive to learn. I mean, seriously, you need a fucking 4-year degree before I'm convinced you've mastered this character. So, yeah, I probably have the least to speculate on in terms of his abilities, so onwards and upwards!
What the dog doing?
Yeah, that's right. You all had to see it coming. Now, I'm well aware that out of all the characters on this list, Leopoldin probably has the least likely chance to come back because, well, I mean, just look at him. One glance and I can tell you this dude can only be top 1 or bottom 1. There would be no in between. But, Jiggler, who is Leopoldin? Ask those of you who live under a rock.
Who are you people?
Well, Leopoldin, as you can see, is in fact not one character, but 3! He consists of 3 entities, so to speak. This wizard guy, this dog, and this big shark thing. I don't know which one of them is named Leopoldin. I think it's the dog, but that also could just be like their collective Steven Universe fusion name too. I don't know. But regardless, they were the arcade mode boss of Guilty Gear Isuka, one of the several Guilty Gear spin-off games. And upon further examination, you will find that this little sorcerer dude is actually using magic to influence the dog, which itself is fused with this giant gear corpse. Yeah, I really can't tell you much else. That's basically their whole story. They live in Antarctica. That's cool. Now, obviously, if this character came to Strive, there would have to be a lot of changes. I mean, first off, you literally cannot hurt this thing with grounded attacks. Any attacks that hit their body will be automatically blocked. So you have to jump up and beat up the dog. Daisuke, you evil bastard. Also, I'm fairly certain they collectively have maybe 10 attacks, and that's counting his specials and normals. So yeah, safe to say Leopoldin would need a hefty overhaul when brought into Strive. Maybe they could be the second one-shot character, along with Nagoriyuki, and yeah, you can attack their body, but in return they could have the lowest health in the game, even below a manaless Asuka, and or give them some special moves with armor like Potemkin. I don't know. I know just saying that makes it sound absurdly busted, but I feel like if anyone can make a moveset like that, that's at least fun and engaging, it's Daisuke and the Strive team. Also, the real reason I put them on the list, their theme is genuinely one of my favorite songs in the whole franchise. It's the thrashiest that Guilty Gear music has ever been, and with Naoki being the lead vocalist of an actual thrash band, I'm just saying, Leopoldin's Strive theme will be an immediate 11 out of 10 if and when they get in. If you've played through or watched the Exert story mode on YouTube, I'm sure I don't have to introduce this fella. But for all those out of the loop, Dr. Paradigm is a character that was introduced all the way back in the game Guilty Gear 2 Overture, which was by far the strangest installment in the series. Well, aside from the pachinko machine. But Dr. Paradigm is basically a super genius gear with a heart of gold and a brain of big that lives in a secluded area along with other passive and non-violent gears. Alongside being a general genius, he is also a master of magic and incredibly knowledgeable about the backyard. Because of that, he plays a pivotal role in stopping the reawakening of justice in Exert, guiding the heroes on what to do and how to do it. Personally, past his visual appearance, I don't find him the most intriguing of Guilty Gear characters, but honestly, that's probably just because he's never been playable outside of Overture. His kid is another one I find kind of hard to speculate on, since Asuka already fills that genius sorcerer role. I'm not sure how Paradigm could really stand out against him. I mean, he's got this bubble he floats around in, but that sort of feels like it's stepping in Dizzy's territory, so honestly, I'm kind of shot for ideas. Maybe it could be like a mix of Asuka and Jacko, or something, but now that I say that out loud, that sounds like it would make me want to stop living more than Slayer does right now, so maybe a no on that one. But honestly, mostly I just want Paradigm in because it feels like he should have been in by now. More than Aerials, more than even like Happy Chaos, I feel like Paradigm has been around for a long time, and I just think he deserves to have a permanent highlight in the form of being playable in Guilty Gear's most popular version.
Fool! Did you think I'd let you escape so easily?
Keeping with the trend of characters that should have been playable for years by now, Gabriel has some of the coldest aura out of any character in Guilty Gear, and as I'm sure you know, that's kind of saying something. Gabriel, if you're somehow unaware, is the leader of Zep and Potemkin's boss. He's the guy that shows up on Potemkin's watch after he Kara Potemkin busters you for the 3rd time in a row because you thought, well, surely he won't do it a 3rd time. Anyway, Gabriel was a pretty prominent character in the Exert story mode. He kicked Bedman's ass and then teamed up with Slayer to kick some shiny gear ass, and it should unironically be considered a crime that Daisuke teased us so hard with how fucking badass and powerful this dude is, only to never put him in Exert. If anything, we're owed Gabriel and Strive as retribution for such emotional torment. As for his playstyle, yet again we've only seen so much of what he's really capable of that there's a lot of ways they could go with it. We see him launching energy fists at people, so that could easily make him a decent zoner, but he's also incredibly fast and oppressive, making rush down just as likely an option. Hell, I could see the case being made for him being a grappler of sorts, though obviously nothing like his star student Pochumkin. Hell, maybe Gabriel could just be a sort of hodgepodge balance type character that's just sort of got a decent answer for almost any situation. I feel like that would probably end up being most in character even. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about Gabriel. He kind of speaks for himself. I think the man has waited long enough. Get his ass in a Guilty Gear game immediately.
If you do the cooking by the book, then you'll have
Break it down, bitch! Let me see you back it up!
Now, Venom is another character I almost considered to be a shoo-in like Dizzy or Jam, given how popular he is, though since his current status as a fighter in the story is somewhat ambiguous in the moment, given his decision to hang up the blood-stained pool cue, pick up a rolling pin, and start a bakery as all wise people do at the end of their personal journey. That being said, I do honestly think it's kind of inevitable for Venom to be added at some point. I mean, he's been in every game since X and is just such a fan-favorite character, even aside from having one of the coolest gimmicks in fighting game history. Genuinely, nothing could be more badass than while your opponent is trying their hardest to beat the ever-loving shit out of you, you're simply playing a game of billiards, and the world is your pool table, baby! I think the biggest challenge that comes with bringing Venom to Strive, aside from getting him out of retirement, is making his moveset effective but not busted. I feel like Venom as he exists in the old games just wouldn't cut it. His screen control would be almost unmatched. I mean, they could try giving him 3 balls instead of 5, or simply reducing his ability to juggle someone and keep them perpetually on the back foot in every situation. I definitely expect them to sort of dumb down his moveset to a certain degree too, just to keep in line with all the other Strive characters, but overall I don't think his general game plan will be all that different. More just the exact tools used in that game plan, if that makes sense. Or hell, you know what? Fuck it, let's just go all in on the baker stick. Instead of a pool cue, he uses a rolling pin. And instead of turning you into a billiard ball, he rolls your ass into dough and bakes you and eats you.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Now, Answer is a very interesting character to me, at least in terms of his appreciation throughout the community, as it seems you either really love or really hate him. Now, I thankfully fall into the love him camp, and honestly, I didn't really see why people would hate him. Like, yeah, he's not the most badass or sexiest character in Guilty Gear, but he's got a cool, unique aesthetic, and he's kind of goofy and fun, you know? And then I started writing this video and realized how many characters should have gotten in the game before him. I'd be pissed if he was the last DLC character too. Holy shit. Over Aerials? Paradigm? Really? But setting aside that context, I genuinely do love Answer, and I think he fits perfectly in the Guilty Gear world. I mean, if anyone is gonna be Chip's right-hand man, it's gotta be someone just as completely deranged as him. Answer is a business ninja with a photographic memory, and he vowed to serve under Chip after he got his ass kicked by him, now serving as the brains of Chip's entire operation, essentially. Which honestly is a big reason I want him in Strive. It feels so weird seeing Chip and Anji hang out without Answer being anywhere. As for his gameplay, they most definitely will have to rework him a good amount, as the guy is a set play demon, and much like Venom, I feel like he'd just be far too oppressive, though that doesn't seem to have stopped the Strive team till now, so what do I know? As much as I love the whole leaving scrolls on screen and using them to launch attacks, I do feel like it might not work with how Strive plays, or at least there'll need to be some adjustments. And I doubt he keeps the card throws, since that would basically just be Johnny's card throw, right? Honestly, I'd love it if they played into the whole summoning aspect a bit more. Let him set up scrolls, but instead of needing to jump on the scroll to use it, you do another input and summon a creature or an item to help attack for you. I don't know, man. I'm just throwing shit at the wall here. And being Chip's secretary, not only is he fucking taking calls while fighting you in the match, his theme song puts you on hold. Like, how can there be anything more badass than a character's battle theme putting you on hold? I know I'm probably going to say this a lot for all of these characters closer to the top, but damn it, I just can't wait to hear what Daisuke and Naoki cook up for answer, man.
I am Dr. Mario and I am saving lives.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Who? Well, listen up, you uncultured swine. FANNY comes from a little niche Guilty Gear spin-off series called Guilty Gear Petite, which only had 2 games and they were only ever released in Japan. Womp womp.
Did you say womp womp?
But in these games, a character named FANNY was introduced, who was once healed by Faust back when he was still Dr. Baldhead and not insane, which, by the way, was Baldhead like actually his name? I thought that was like his serial killer moniker after he went insane like Jack the Ripper, you know, but I'm starting to think that's actually just his name. Anyway, FANNY's whole story in the Petite games is that she's searching for Dr. Baldhead, who she still believes to be missing, and even after meeting Faust, doesn't see the connection and continues her search. She's clearly not the brightest character socially, it seems, but at the end of the day, she likes to help people, and I think if anyone would be able to get through to Faust in this whatever he's in, I'd say it'd be a former patient which he did save, eh? Right? Also, this is just kind of a side note, but I'm pretty sure Faust's whole afro gimmick in Strive is a reference to FANNY's instant kill, though that could just be a coincidence, I guess. Her gameplay in the Petite games takes a lot of inspiration from Faust, or Dr. Baldhead more specifically, I guess. And I think it wouldn't be hard at all to make her distinct in the roster of Strive. She even has Faust's old pogo stance that they ripped away from him in Strive. Maybe that's why he's so sad. And she also has the stab sort of maneuver like Faust, and kind of Abba's key grab, and it'd be cool to see her like use the syringe to like inject the opponent with shit that could have different status effects maybe. And although the entire Petite soundtrack is all 8-bit renditions of existing Guilty Gear songs, FANNY does have her own original song, which is a certified banger, even if it's only 8-bit. And I just know that Aisha is gonna sound incredible on her theme when she gets into Strive. Come on, Daisuke, free her from her 8-bit shackles! Now, let's take a trip back on over to Guilty Gear 2 Overture and talk about another fella who was introduced and promptly forgotten about, Izuna. Izuna is a very mysterious and intriguing character. All we really know is that he says he's from the backyard, which at least is sort of backed up by all the crazy magic shit he can do. And he's also a goofball, and he's handsome, and I love him. Izuna actually plays a surprisingly pivotal role in the story of Overture, as he's kind of a magic taxi service for everyone since he can teleport, a la Finral from Black Clover. However, unlike Paradigm, he has very little acknowledgement outside of Overture, with a brief appearance in that pachinko game I mentioned earlier, and the last we heard of him was Paradigm saying he's gone completely MIA and supposedly was sealed by Aerials, so who knows what the dude is up to, honestly. And now we've already got a couple of samurai-type characters in Strive, being Baiken and Nago, so I feel like Izuna would need to stand out quite a bit in terms of his moveset. Obviously, I feel like he needs to teleport. I mean, that's like his entire thing. Maybe he can swap places with the opponent too, possibly the ultimate cross-up in a game full of infuriating cross-ups. He's also got his big-ass katana, obviously, and that combined with his magic prowess really makes me think he'll be a zoner. Hell, give him a supplementary gun and make him the second shooting-type character aside from Happy Chaos, but please, Daisuke, lose this fit he had at the pachinko game. What on earth were you thinking? I think most of us can agree that Zappa has to be one of the most requested characters in the game at this point. By myself as well, partially because I feel like Bridget and especially Abba getting in already makes sort of anything feel possible, and honestly, it's really hard to picture Zappa in Strive, not just because he'd need a massive overhaul both design-wise and moveset-wise. His animations would just have to be so complex. You see, if you're unaware, Zappa is but a normal, average Australian lad. However, he just so happens to be an all-expense-paid 5-star hotel for spirits of the damned, which contort, manipulate, and transform Zappa's body to their needs. That being, to fucking destroy everyone and be the best fucking character in Accent Core. Yeah, on top of being one of the most visually impressive characters in the franchise's history, in his one and only mainline appearance, he is completely fucking busted. He randomly swaps between essentially 3 different ghost summons that change his game plan entirely, from a giant floating sword that he can make go full screen, to the ghosts from Casper, to a shadow dog that is probably the spawn of Satan himself. So honestly, if Zappa gets into Strive, I could see him getting a major overhaul like Biken or Elfeld had, that sort of changes his game plan at a fundamental level while still keeping the feeling of being all 13 ghosts from 13 ghosts in a trench coat. And now, for the moment you've all been listening to this in the background waiting for. The number one character that I, internet clown Jelly D. Jiggler, want, no, need to see in Guilty Gear Strive. Yeah, I know this will probably be a somewhat controversial pick, but hear me out, alright? Justice is of course the original boss from Guilty Gear The Missing Link, as well as the first of many incarnations of Soul Bad Guy's wife that he has to kill by his own hands. And of course, the biggest problem with Justice coming back is the fact that not only was she killed in the first game, but she was kind of absorbed by Jacko in Exerd Revelator. But I mean, I don't really think that'll be much of a problem. This is Guilty Gear, baby. In Strive alone, we have 2 time travelers, 2 immortal vampires, 2 godlike sorcerers, and whatever the fuck Faust is. I think we can find a way to bring back the big Gundam lady. Hell, honestly, in a perfect world, I don't even want them to change her design from the old games and just say like she got pulled through space-time after winning against humanity in an alternate timeline. And just give us old Justice in 3D because, holy shit, can you imagine how good this design would look in Strive style? And if they gave us the Heaven stage, Daisuke, please, I'm on my knees begging! And as far as her moveset's concerned, I honestly really don't feel like much should change. I mean, she's kind of just a big hulking zoner, which probably the closest thing we have to that right now is Faust, maybe Nago, just considering how big almost all of his attacks are, but Justice still stands out from them greatly, and I genuinely feel like tuning up her kit for Strive could make her one of the most fun characters in the game, at least for me. And in my opinion, since this is all my opinion, if Justice is to make it into the game, personally I would find it fitting if she was the last character to make it into Strive. Not only as a sort of full circle moment to bring the Guilty Gear story as we know it to a close, having all 13 characters from the first game in one game again, but also to avoid having another answer situation and make the last character in the game sort of mean something, you know? No offense, my sweet boy, I still love you. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this nonsensical rant of mine. Let me know your thoughts and what characters you think should get into Strive. Are you a big Cliff, Haehyun, maybe Raven fan? It's okay. This is a safe space for you. If you're still here and conscious, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to hear me ramble about games and anime and whatever I feel like ranting about on whatever day. Alright, I think I've been talking for too long at this point. Thank you for watching. Go play Guilty Gear, and if you see me in the ranked tower, please let me win. Bye-bye!